how beggary is linked with human trafficking and with particular context to Pakistan. And I will briefly talk about the current legislation in Pakistan that addresses trafficking as a form of human trafficking in Pakistan. So next, please. Okay, so trafficking in person, so it's one of the fastest growing illegal industries in the world. It is also referred to as a modern form of human slavery as well. So this phenomenon is not specific to any particular country or geographical location. So almost all the countries of the world are actually experiencing human trafficking in varying degree. So it is also a gendered phenomenon because traffickers usually prey on the vulnerabilities of women and children, but men also are trafficked for different purposes, especially for forced labor. So, according to estimates, there are millions of people who are actually currently living under conditions of modern form of slavery. And when we talk about trafficking in person, so this form of crime is also linked with other serious crimes. For example, now there are growing evidence that trafficking in person is linked with money laundering, with terrorist financing, and other crimes as well. So there are two prominent forms of trafficking in person. First is internal trafficking, that is, in this form of exploitation, people are trafficked within their own countries. They don't need to cross, national borders. Whereas in the second form, which is called external or international trafficking, people are actually, transported to other countries for the purpose of exploitation. Next, please. So how can we define trafficking in person? So in very simple language, we can say that trafficking is basically, it's an enterprise in which human beings are used as a commodity. So it's just like a business, and for every business, there's a commodity. So in simple words, we can say trafficking is a business in which basically profit is generated through the exploitation of human beings. Uh, Internationally, when we talk about the concept or the legal framework of human trafficking, so the United Nations General Assembly in 2000 actually adopted the protocol to prevent, suppress, and punish trafficking in persons, and this protocol under its Article 3 provides the definition of trafficking in persons. So the act of trafficking actually involves three constituent elements. So if we really want to determine that in a particular incident whether trafficking has occurred or not, so there must be three constituent elements to determine whether trafficking has occurred or not. So the first element is act, that is the recruiting, transporting, transferring, harboring, or receiving of a person. The second element is means, that people are trapped through coercion, through fraud, abduction, or by abusing their position of vulnerability. And third, and the most important element of trafficking is the purpose. And the purpose of human trafficking is always exploitation, because crimes indicate they basically generate profit through human trafficking by exploiting people, and people could be exploited for various reasons. For example, forced labor, sexual exploitation, or organ removal, or other similar practices. And that's why it's called modern form of slavery. So these are the three elements that constitute the crime of trafficking in persons. Next, please. Okay, so these are some prominent forms of trafficking in person. So, children, women, men, they are exploited for various purposes. So, for example, forced labor, removal of organs, selling children, forced marriages, sexual exploitation, forced begging, and child soldier. So, forced begging is one of the prominent forms of human trafficking in which basically people are forced into begging. Next, please. Yes, please. Next. So, who are actually the victims of trafficking? So now I'm sharing with you, the global data. So it's a report that has been compiled by the United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime. So According to this international report, that across the globe, uh, 39% of all identified victims are women. 22% of identified victims of trafficking are girls. 16% identified victims of trafficking are boys, and 23% victims identified victims of human trafficking are men. So this is basically actually the global data, and it clearly indicates that an overwhelming majority of victims of trafficking are women and girls. Next, please. Okay, so again, the global data showing the share of detected victims by forms of exploitation. So again, it only shows the victims who have been identified, detected by various law enforcement agencies across the world. So it shows that the victims were trafficked for different reasons, and we can see trafficking for begging, like 1% of all identified
बस अपना
victims of
अपने बच्चे जहन में लाओ ना कितना क्रिमिनल
almost 1% of total identified victims of trafficking were trafficked for the purpose of horse bagging. But we can always question this data. For example, the number might be low for force bagging because still there is little understanding of this particular dimension of human trafficking. Because when we talk about human trafficking, so people generally think that trafficking includes sexual exploitation or forced labor only. So that's why other forms of human trafficking are not frequently detected or reported. Next, please. Okay, now let's discuss the links of trafficking Baghri with particular reference to Pakistan. A couple of years back, Dan reported that, Federal Ministry informed, the Senate that almost 90% of baggers arrested in foreign countries were of Pakistani origin. And this is something that was really alarming. And likewise, Federal Investigation Agency also reported last year that by the end of 2024, only from Saudi Arabia, 4,000 baggers were deported during the last 3 years. And as Habibur Rahman sir was saying, that not only these numbers are very alarming, but they bring bad name for Pakistan, and especially it creates problem for those people who want to go abroad through legal channels. So Bagri actually become a very lucrative business, generating billions of rupees yearly. And if we compare trafficking for the purpose of bagging, so it's relatively a less risky one. Why? Because it's so much deeply rooted in our socio-economic fabric, that people many times don't consider it, as a crime or as a form of exploitation. So that's why many times it's considered a less risky one form of human trafficking. So, who actually traffic baggers? So, baggers, they can be trafficked by both strangers. Sometimes, children, they are kidnapped by a human traffic, and then they are forced into baggery. Or sometimes, friends or people they know, their relatives, for example, they actually coerce or push them into forced bagging. So, traffickers could both be strangers or people actually the, the know the victims. Next, please. So, as I shared with you earlier, trafficking is considered a gendered phenomenon. So similarly, in this form of trafficking, when we talk about baggery, so statistics indicate that a significant portion of all bagging victims are women and children, and it is also, deeply linked with the disability as well. Why? Because it has to do with the social construction of disability. People feel, compassionate, or people feel that they feel this urge on moral ground that they have more needs, so we need to actually help them. And because of such behavior, human trafficker, they actually try to manipulate and try to exploit this situation. So that's why they particularly target young people, and especially those who have some sort of physical or mental disability, so that they could earn more profits. Next, please. Then, like other forms of trafficking, beggary is also linked with other criminal activities. For example, beggary is strongly associated with, street crimes, drugs business, or sometimes terrorist activities as well. And the profit that is generated through exploitation of human beings is again, used for money laundering or other criminal activities. So, according to the Trafficking in Persons report 2024, this Trafficking in Person report is yearly report compiled by the United States Department of States, and this report basically ranks countries in terms of their efforts to combat trafficking in persons. And Pakistan is currently on tier two. And 3 years back, we were in the great place, but Alhamdulillah, we are doing good job, and we are out of the great list, but still we are in tier two. So the recent report basically provides us some prioritized recommendations. So for Pakistan, the report indicates that human traffickers, they buy, sell, rent, and kidnap children for forced labor in bagging, and some trafficker targets particularly, persons with disability, and force them into bagging. And the report actually recommends that government of Pakistan should expand efforts to raise awareness on all forms of human trafficking, but particularly forced bagging, because it's very recently that we have also acknowledged trafficking, like forced bagging, as a form of human trafficking in Pakistan. Next, please. Okay, now very briefly about the legal and policy framework in Pakistan, and I will only focus on Baghri. So the Constitution of Pakistan actually basically prohibits all forms of human trafficking, including trafficking for the purpose of forced labor. So in Pakistan, the Parliament of Pakistan passed this legislation called the Prevention of Trafficking in Person Act 2018. And in 2018, the trafficking was, basically defined for the purpose of sexual exploitation and forced labor. But recently, the Parliament adopted its amendment, which is called the Prevention of Trafficking in Person Amendment Act 2025. And through this amendment, now organized beggary has also been acknowledged as a form of human trafficking. So, according to this amendment, next please, the Article 3C of the Act now in Pakistan, when the Article 3 defines trafficking in person. So, in addition to trafficking for sexual exploitation and forced labor, Section 3C explains organized beggary as a form of human trafficking. And here you can see that this subsection 3C actually provides a very comprehensive definition of organized beggary as a form of human trafficking in Pakistan.